I didn't know I had to hit the. That was pretty easy.
Yeah, no, you're good, dude.
Do not do it on OBS.
So it is like the imaging one.
All right. I just wanted to.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Hello.
I wish I could say something that was classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
SportsTownChicago.com. Lombard, part of the P On Air network and available on the TuneIn app.
Hell yeah.
Broadcast home for your Windy City Bulls and the Chicago Dogs. We're in a league of our own. Now, here's your SportsTownChicago.com scoreboard update.
At 2:30, I'm Brett Cagle with your SportsTownChicago.com update, powered by the Illinois Media School. If interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com. Tonight, the Cubs play the Pirates in the second game of their series. Pittsburgh won last night 5-3 and have highly talented all-star Paul Skeens starting on the mound tonight. Veteran Kyle Hendricks starts for Chicago, sporting an ERA north of 6.7 on the year and a record of 3-10. Ian Happ leads the Cubs in home runs and RBIs. First pitch starts at 6:40 Central Time. The White Sox play the dominant Baltimore Orioles today at 5:35 Central Time. Cade Povich starts tonight for Baltimore and is one of the worst starters in their rotation with a record of 1-7 and an ERA north of 6.5. Starting for the Sox will be right-hander Nick Nastrini, who will try and pick up his first win on the season. An AL Central clash between the Cleveland Guardians and the Kansas City Royals begins at 6:40. The Royals have one of the best players in the league in shortstop Bobby Witt Jr., who's batting .338 with 30 home runs. Cleveland is led by perennial all-star Jose Ramirez, who's contributed 34 home runs so far this season. Brady Singer will take on Tanner Beebe in a matchup of talented young pitchers. Naoya Inoue retained his undisputed junior featherweight championship with a 7th-round TKO over TJ Doney this morning in Tokyo, Japan. Inoue improved his record to 28-0 with 25 knockouts, keeping all 4 of his 122-pound titles. This has been your SportsTownChicago.com update, brought to you by the Illinois Media School. If interested in a career in media, go to beonair.com.
Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that.
What's up, fight fans? We're back here live on the Combat Connection, SportsTownChicago.com on YouTube. Belal Muhammad was on the Joe Rogan Experience earlier this morning. The welterweight champion is the first male champion from the city of Chicago, was on the Joe Rogan Experience, the biggest show in the world. Here's a little bit about his path to the title, talking with Joe about how hard it was to overcome obstacles on his way to beating Leon Edwards last month.
Is now I could just talk as much as possible and they can't say nothing.
They can't say nothing. There's so many doubters, so many naysayers, so many people didn't want you to get that title shot. It was so unfair, dude. It was really wild. It was wild to see. It really was. It really was. Because I'm like, are you guys not watching his fights? Like, what the fuck are you guys seeing? I do not understand when people don't appreciate excellence. I really don't get it. I never, like the Sean Brady fight, you see that fight, you don't think this dude is a fucking problem for everybody? You see the Wonder Boy fight, see all your fights.
Now, that was Joe Rogan. I am sorry, I had an edited version of that clip with bleeps in. I guess I picked the unedited version there. But regardless, Belal Muhammad is on the Joe Rogan Experience yesterday. He talks about how, Leon Edwards really looked lackadaisical in that fight. He flew over to London a week and a half in advance and said that really the hardest part for him was getting acclimated to the time change from here in Central Standard Time to being over there in London. Now, he said once he landed, he actually called up a local gym and was able to train at 4 a.m. in the morning to get ready for his title shot, which ended up taking place at about 5 a.m. local time in London that night. So, Belal Muhammad was prepared ahead of time, went over there with his team, was training locally, getting acclimated to the surrounding area and the fight time that he would have to be going in on. So he was really locked in coming into this performance. This is actually really big news, and you guys should go and watch the rest of this Joe Rogan Experience clip. I can't play the rest of it for you because obviously it is unedited, and we heard Joe there a little bit, but Belal Muhammad, this is huge news for the city of Chicago because we have not had a UFC fight or a UFC title fight in this town in 5 years. Now, a lot of that is to do with the pandemic in 2020, in 2021, and kind of a little bit of the politics surrounding not why they didn't want the UFC to come back. So Dana White has gone to other places like Florida. He's gone to St. Louis. He's gone to Columbus, Ohio, instead of coming back here to the city of Chicago. But now that Belal Muhammad is the champion, we have a Chicago-born champion here. We've got guys like Clay Guida. We've got females like Juliana Pena who are going to be competing for titles here. If Juliana Pena beats Pennington, we could get 2 title fights in the beginning of the year here in Chicago and a massive pay-per-view, hopefully, with the UFC. I could very easily see Belal Muhammad taking on Shavkat Rakhmonov, while Juliana Pena takes on Kayla Harrison in a massive card here in the Midwest. So keep an eye out on that. We obviously are big fans of Belal Muhammad here on this show. It was a tremendous performance what he put together there in Leon Edwards' home country on the road and getting the job done. But I think it really means a lot to fight fans here in the city that he became champion, because now I feel like we're going to be getting cards here in the city of Chicago with more relatively one after the other here. So look for Belal Muhammad to defend his welterweight championship versus Shavkat Rakhmonov in the beginning of next year. I like that to probably be here in Chicago in January or February of 2025. So we've got a lot of fights to break down today. We've got Sean Brady versus Gilbert Burns with the UFC card coming up this weekend. We also have undefeated Usman Nurmagomedov taking on Alexander Shabliy in Bellator. I am going to be flying directly from this show to San Diego, California to cover the Usman Nurmagomedov versus Alexander Shabliy fight. Also on that Bellator card, we have Douglas Lima versus Aaron Jeffrey, Lorenz Larkin versus Levon Chokley. That is a tremendous card that Bellator is putting together on Saturday night, the same night that we have Brady versus Burns. We're going to break all those fights down for you guys here next on SportsTownChicago.com.
This is your home for sports.
This is the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they're looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m., where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball. News, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.
All right, fight fans, we're back here live on SportsTownChicago.com. Let's get into the matchups for this weekend. We've got a lot of fights to break down, a lot of predictions to give out here. Let's start with Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. UFC card this weekend. Gilbert Burns, former World Jiu-Jitsu champion, 22-7, enters this fight against up-and-coming contender Sean Brady, 16-1, with his only loss to the previously mentioned on this show, Belal Muhammad. This is a great fight between welterweights. Burns is ranked number 5th in the world. Brady is ranked number 8. Sean Brady is a very physically strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from Philadelphia. This kid is a very young athlete. He is going to have a significant age difference and gap in this fight. He is 31 and Gilbert Burns is 37 here. So he trains, he being Sean Brady, trains out of Renzo Gracie, Philly. So he's one of the best black belts in the UFC when it comes to the jiu-jitsu side of things, but so is Gilbert Burns, which makes this such an interesting stylistic matchup. So we have a world jiu-jitsu champion in Burns versus a guy who's very credentialed here in the United States in Sean Brady, but might be the physically stronger and younger athlete on fight night. Now, I've preached about this in the past. Normally, when we get two grapplers against one another, that means the fight's going to take place on the feet. Now, if the fight does take place on the feet, I favor this to go to Gilbert Burns, as Sean Brady has been knocked out once and is only won by KO or TKO 3 times. Now, a lot of his KOs or TKOs, a couple of them were due to ground and pound. He really has a controlling style on the ground, does Sean Brady. And, you know, in spots in this fight, over 5 rounds, I think that he's going to be able to control Gilbert Burns up against the fence, against the cage, maybe win rounds and win large portions of this fight. But I don't know if he's necessarily going to be able to do the damage to Gilbert Burns that Burns will be able to inflict on Sean Brady. I think that the 5 rounds favors Gilbert Burns, who has been scheduled for 5 rounds before. This will be the first fight in Sean Brady's career scheduled for 5 rounds. Now, Sean Brady was supposed to fight Vicente Luque. That did not happen. His last win was over Kelvin Gastelum. He got a Kimura there, took the fight to the ground, got a submission. That's his bread and butter. Now, when he fights a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, who is predominantly a wrestler, doesn't have a great submission game, and tries to use his hands and keeps fight on the feet where he can stand and trade, that is a great game plan. But against Gilbert Burns, you can't really just take Gilbert Burns to the ground and expect to get some type of submission, because, you know, Gilbert is historically one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the entire UFC's history. So, you know, Sean Brady is going to have to find a different path to victory, that he has not found in many recent fights if he wants to win this weekend. Now, Gilbert Burns has been on a losing streak. Gilbert Burns has looked bad since the loss to Khamzat Chimaev. That was a great fight. Some people thought he beat Chimaev. You know, but since then he gets wins over Neil Magny and Jorge Masvidal, but then loses 2 in a row to champion Belal Muhammad and then Jack Della Maddalena. Now, Della Maddalena, he was looking good. I had that 1-1 going into the 3rd round. Obviously, Jack was able to get him done or get him out of there by TKO in the 3rd round with a knee and then some ground strikes. And that was pretty brutal, to be honest with you. But these 2 losses are not the worst losses in the world for Gilbert Burns. Belal Muhammad is the current champion, and Jack Della Maddalena is a guy who is running roughshod through the division, going straight towards the title, moving into the top 5. He's a guy who, after Shavkat Rakhmonov, is probably going to be the next contender here at 170 pounds. So Gilbert Burns, does he still have some juice left in him? Can he turn back time here and beat the young up-and-comer in Sean Brady? Now, I said 37 for Burns. He's just recently turned 38 years old at the end of July. So he is now 38. He will be facing the 31-year-old Sean Brady. I think this is going to be a really close fight. And, you know, to me, if it stays on the feet, I think Gilbert Burns should find success here. Now, the last 2 losses for Burns are concerning. And from a betting perspective, you know, I think you have to go with youth here. if Burns turns back the clock, if he puts on one of these historic performances, then you're going to see something that, you're going to see a violent finish. You're going to see your money's worth in watching this fight. But Sean Brady has one way to win this fight, and that's by grinding out a decision against the cage and going 5 rounds and winning on the judges' scorecards. I really, truly believe there's only one way for Sean Brady to win this fight. I do not believe he can knock out Gilbert Burns, and I do not believe he can submit Gilbert Burns. I think he can control Gilbert Burns on the ground for large portions of this fight while Gilbert tries to attempt submissions off his back. Maybe he doesn't get those submissions because Sean Brady is just good enough to escape them while staying on top. That is Brady's path to victory in this one. But for Burns, he's really facing a guy who might be more one-dimensional than him. On the feet, I feel like Gilbert Burns can land significant strikes. I think that, when you watch his fight with Khamzat Chimaev is a better striker than Sean Brady is. And when you saw the success that he had versus Khamzat Chimaev, that leads me to believe that he's going to be able to find success for Sean Brady on the feet. Sean Brady was kind of exposed in that matchup with Belal Muhammad. He wasn't able to take Muhammad to the ground, and thus far had to fight him standing. That didn't work out for him, and Muhammad is not known as some, dominant striker either. So I think that the path to victory for Gilbert Burns is to keep this fight standing. For Sean Brady, it's definitely to take it to the ground and try and grind out some sort of decision win while, he's going to have to be, minding his P's and Q's down there because Gilbert Burns is so good in submissions on the ground. So I'm going to take Sean Brady in a very close decision. I think that Sean Brady is going to be too strong, too young for Gilbert Burns, but Gilbert is a legend of the sport, and if he can go in there and turn back the clock and put on a Tito Ortiz versus Ryan Bader-like performance, then all credit to him. But, as far as parting with my money, I'm going to take youth. I'm going to take athleticism, and I'm going to take the dominant grappling style of Sean Brady, even though he's going up against maybe a better credentialed grappler than him in Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns has fought at a weight class lower at 155 pounds. He is not the biggest welterweight in the world. Sean Brady is a massive welterweight. He's somebody who could even probably find success at 185 pounds. So I'm going to take Sean Brady. I think that he's too good, too young, too athletic for Gilbert Burns, but he's going to have to watch out for Burns' straight punches on the feet and the submission attempts he's going to throw up off of his back on the ground. So that's what I have for the main event of this weekend, fight fans. Moving along the card here, we've got Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. Now, Natalia Silva is on some sort of win streak here. She has not lost, and I believe it's 11 fights dating back to 2018, beating Andrea KGB Lee, beating Vivian Aralo, beating Jasmine Judovicius. She's really turning back a lot of these girls that are not in the rankings and are on the outside of the top 15, maybe looking in and trying to get their way there. Natalia Silva has really made a name for herself in the last 2 to 3 years here in the promotion. And, I like how she's looking. She's kind of getting decisions. She had one spinning back kick and then another knockout over Victoria Leonardo with the punches and head kicks, but, mostly getting submission and decision wins here. I like her in this one, but at the same time, she's going to be facing the most experienced fighter of her career in Jessica Andrade. And we all know about Jessica Andrade, a physical specimen out there in the females division. She slammed Rose Namajunas on her head and knocked her unconscious to become the champion. Andrade, a former champion herself, 32 years old. A lot of people don't realize this. Jessica Andrade is not that old. We've seen her for a long time. We think, oh, maybe this girl is past her prime. Only 32 years old here, 26-12. Currently on a 2-fight win streak over Marina Rodriguez and Mackenzie Dern. I like Jessica Andrade in this. I think she's going to have more experience. I think she's got more punching power on a little bit of a win streak. She just faced a dominant jiu-jitsu practitioner in Mackenzie Dern. She just faced a great kickboxer in Marina Rodriguez and stayed on the feet and beat her at her own game. She is so aggressive. She can take punches from almost anyone. Obviously not like a Shevchenko or one of these bigger girls, but Jessica Andrade is fluid in these weight classes, whether it be 125, 115, it doesn't matter. Jessica Andrade really will take on all comers, and she has taken on all comers in the past. Her last loss let's just look at her last 5 fights here. This is the level of competition that Jessica Andrade faces. Now, I just told you that Natalia Silva has won 11 fights in a row. Yes, some of those were in the promotion Jungle fight in Brazil, along with, as I mentioned, Jasmine Judovicius and some other girls that are outside the top 15. These girls I'm about to tell you that Jessica Andrade is fighting all reside inside the top 10 or even inside the top 5. We've got Erin Blanchfield, who's currently 10-1 and is thought to be the best potential fighter under 26 years old amongst all female competitors. Then we have Zhang Xiaonan, who just fought for the title against Weili Zhang. She is 16 and 4 now. So we've got Tatiana Suarez, who remains undefeated. Tatiana Suarez is the last woman to defeat Jessica Andrade, and since then she beat Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodriguez. So all of those women are ranked inside the top 10. She's facing the best in the world, and before even that, she had faced people like Rose Namajunas 2 times, Valentina Shevchenko, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and Tisha Pennington. So and Joanna. So I mean, she has faced the best of the best. Jessica Penne in there as well. I'm going to take Jessica Andrade in this matchup. I think she's too physical, too strong. I thought she was older than 32 years of age. That was a little bit surprising to me. So I'm going to take her in this one. I think she's just beaten 2 very good contenders in Marina Rodriguez and Mackenzie Dern, both of which, in my opinion, are probably better than Natalia Silva. So I'm going to take Jessica Andrade and experience in the co-main event. Moving along the card here, we've a very interesting fight between Kyle Nelson and Stevie Garcia. Now, to me, this one is striker versus grappler. Kyle Nelson from Canada, he grinds out wins. He's a very tough individual. He has 6 knockouts, but he has also been chinned twice in his career. 6 decision wins. That's what really sticks out to me. As I've seen him in the past, he's on a 3-fight win streak over Blake Builder, Fernando Padilla, and Bill Algeo. The win over Algeo was his most recent and most impressive, with a knockout by knee. Now he is going to be facing Stevie Garcia, who fight fans just saw with a knockout win over Seung-Woo Choi. Now, Stevie Garcia is on a 4-fight win streak, impressive wins over Shailin Nudenbeke, Chase Hooper, Costa, and Woo Choi. All of them ending by knockout. This guy is kill or be killed. He's an action fighter on the feet. Somebody to watch. Certainly, fight fans tune in for Stevie Garcia versus Kyle Nelson. I have this one, striker versus grappler. I'm going to go with Stevie Garcia. I like his frame at the weight class, 6 foot tall at 145 pounds. So I like Stevie Garcia. Also a community college veteran there. Central New Mexico Community College is where Stevie Garcia is from. So he trains out of Jackson Wink MMA, one of the best gyms in the world, a natural born athlete. I like the mean machine, Steve Garcia, in the 3rd fight from last of the night. Moving along here, the UFC card, we have Matt Schnell taking on Alessandre Costa in a flyweight contest. Quickly, Matt Schnell, in my opinion, has a very weak chin for 125 pounds. We've seen him just get knocked out by, we just saw him got knocked out by Steve Erceg brutally with that left hook. He's been knocked out 5 times previously in his career. I am going to take Alessandro Costa in this one, who is just an absolute force. 5 knockout wins, 6 submission wins on his record. I'm going to take him. He's very aggressive. Comes to win, comes to take his opponent's head off. He just beat Kevin Borjas by punches from back mount. His only losses are to Amir Albazi and Steve Erceg inside the UFC. So both of those guys are tremendous. Albazi is probably going to be the next guy in line for a title opportunity, while Steve Erceg was the last man to just fight Alexandre Pantoja. So I think Matt Schnell is going to lose. I think he's going to lose by finish. I'm going to take Alessandro Costa knockout or submission, double chance at the FanDuel Sportsbook in this fight. Another one I want to get into, because I think fight fans really need to tune in for the final fight of the prelims this weekend. Also, if you could watch this fight along with the Bellator fight, I think that the Bellator main event and co-main event are actually much better than this fight card. But I mean, Sean Brady and Gilbert Burns is a great fight, but Usman Nurmagomedov and Alexander Shabliy is fantastic, and Douglas Lima versus Aaron Jeffrey is certainly better than Jessica Andrade and Natalia Silva. So hopefully you guys can watch both of these cards this weekend. But I like Alessandro Costa in the last fight of in the first fight of the main card, the last fight of the early prelims, we have Trevor Peek taking on Yanel Ashmov. Now, Ashmov is a smaller fighter, 7-1. Trevor Peek has big power, a American wrestler. I'm going to take Peek in this matchup. He had a very close contest with Chepe Mariscal here from Chicago. Chepe Mariscal has got on to do very good things. Actually hasn't lost in his UFC career yet. And Trevor Peek, he rebounded with a win over Muhammad Yahya, who is not the greatest fighter in the world, let's be honest. Then he fought Charlie Campbell. It was a very close fight, or no, it wasn't a close fight, but it was an action fight. Charlie Campbell gets the decision win, unanimous in that one, but Trevor Peek was game for as long as that one lasted. Schmooze is not someone who's really impressed me. Now, I really study body movement, and I really study the size and frame of these guys and where they can translate in this division. Chris Duncan is a great fighter. I like Chris Duncan, the sheep farmer. He is a very good wrestler. He's got power in his hands, knocked out Charlie Campbell on the Contender Series, but he beat Schmooze here by unanimous decision in his last fight. Yanel Schmooze was not able to get that fight to the ground. He really only had a big right hand, wasn't putting together combinations at all versus Chris Duncan, and Chris Duncan was the more powerful puncher in that fight. So, Schmooze showed his toughness in that one, certainly, but I don't know where the skills are at for him. It looks like he's a guy who just tries to run right at you and get you out of there, and if he can't, well, then he's got to have to formulate a game plan on the fly. So, I really like Trevor Peek in this one. I think that it's going to be all action. This could potentially be fight of the night. Both of these guys come in there just trying to take their opponent's head off. I don't see a lot of game planning in the corner of Trevor Peek either. If you go back and watch that fight with Chepe Mariscal, that was a lot of grit. That was a lot of determination. That was not necessarily the most technical fight you'll ever see, but it was one of the most entertaining fights you'll ever see, which is what I kind of predict in this one between Yanel Schmooze and Trevor Peek. Both of these guys, all action, both of them coming in for the kill. Don't be surprised if that ends up as your fight of the night in the UFC. When we get back, I'm going to talk everything we need to know about Bellator coming up this weekend from San Diego. I'm going to be there on Media Day. I'm going to try and ask Usman Nurmagomedov about his suspension for steroid, or, he popped hot after the Brent Primus fight. We've got to ask him. His family is undefeated. He's a big name, the biggest name outside the UFC currently right now. I think he's the highest potential fighter. Listen, and if I'm going to say this, I've got to be able to be critical as well. I think he is the best fighter in the world based on potential, based on skills. I don't think there is a man alive that can beat Usman Nurmagomedov at his weight, or maybe the weight below. So, he just is so impressive to me, what he's able to do on the ground, what he's able to do on the feet, the spinning kicks on the feet, the legendary acclaim and muscle repetition from a young age for the grappling. It's just unbelievable. He's trained by the best in Khabib Nurmagomedov and Javier Mendez over there at the American Kickboxing Academy. We're going to break down everything surrounding Bellator Champion Series from San Diego, the Usman Nurmagomedov versus Alexander Shabli fight, two Russians that are just great historic fighters in their prime competing this weekend from San Diego. And we're also going to talk about Douglas Lima's move up to 185 pound. The former welterweight champion in Bellator will take on Aaron Jeffrey, the young and lengthy contender from America, with the winner potentially fighting Johnny Eblen for the next crack at the 185-pound title. We're going to talk about all of that. Bellator Champion Series, SportsTownChicago.com.
This is your home for sports.
It's the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue. It hurts all of us. Women are injured and killed every day by their husbands and boyfriends. So it's time for men to take action right now to teach boys that violence against women is wrong, to help prevent abuse before it starts. Call the Family Violence Prevention Fund at 1-800-END-ABUSE to get a free Take Action kit containing tips on what to say to boys. That's 1-800-END-ABUSE. Teach early.
Indeed is the #1 job search user with over 250 million monthly users. Indeed's priority is to help everyone in the job searching process to find a job by uploading 10 new job opportunities every 10 seconds worldwide. With Indeed, you have free access to job searches, resume uploads, and company researches. There are over 10,000 employees at Indeed that pursue to help people find the job they are looking for. They connect with millions of people to new opportunities. Go to Indeed.com and sign up for free and create a resume and let Indeed do the rest to help you on your job search.
Hey, I'm Jesus Mauricio. Be sure to tune in every Friday to listen to Zeus Off the Bat, a baseball talk show from 1 to 2 p.m. where I'll be discussing and updating you on all things about baseball. News, predictions, reactions, and more about the Cubs, Sox, and everything across the league. Happens every Friday at 1 p.m. right here on SportsTownChicago.com. Don't forget to follow and share our Twitter and Instagram with your friends at Zeus Off the Bat. Zeus Off the Bat.
All right, fight fans, let's talk a little bit about Bellator Champions Series from San Diego coming up this week. Saturday night, you can find this fight on HBO Max, exclusively on HBO Max. You know, historically under Showtime, obviously you would find their fights there for Bellator, and you could find them on your television channel listing as well. But this is exclusively HBO Max this weekend. Just type in Bellator into the search bar of your HBO Max app, and you will be able to access the fight on Saturday night. This is a great card that we're going to see here. A lot of guys on the come up in the prelims as well as the main card here. We've got limited amount of time left today, so we're going to talk about the 3 fights that everybody's interested in on the main card. Undefeated phenom Usman Nurmagomedov takes on fellow countryman and Russian contender Alexander Shabli. This was supposed to be the $1 million final of the Bellator Lightweight Grand Prix last year. Obviously, after the purchase of Showtime by ESPN and the PFL, that tournament no longer, it no longer existed. They didn't have a chance to fight for the $1 million. They were told that, this tournament would be null and void, and that the quarterfinals and semifinal matchups would no longer be happening either. So Usman Nurmagomedov takes on Alexander Shabli this weekend. These guys are tremendous. Now, Nurmagomedov trains at AKA under Khabib with Javier Mendez, same gym as Cain Velasquez, same gym as Daniel Cormier, Frank Shamrock, all these guys. Usman Nurmagomedov, in my opinion, at 25 years old, is the best fighter outside the UFC currently. His potential is massive. 2 or 3 years from now, I believe we're going to see him as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter on earth. He is just waiting for Islam Makhachev, the current UFC champion, to get out of the 155-pound division in the UFC. Then it is my belief that he will come over to the Ultimate Fighting Championship and try and get gold over there as well. Now, this family has never lost. 78-0 between Khabib, Umar, and Usman. Umar now is going to fight the winner of Merab versus Sean O'Malley at the Sphere. He is a historically great fighter. Khabib, Hall of Famer, historically great fighter. I think that Usman has the potential to be better than both. Now, that is a big statement, especially considering that Usman just popped hot for a banned substance. I'm going to ask him at the media day if he'd like to make a comment about the banned substance. What really it was. I heard from the inside that this was a prescribed Adderall that came up and popped hot for him, but it was prescribed by a doctor, ADD medicine, like a Vyvanse or something like that, that came back negative. So if that was the case, I don't look at this as a steroid conviction. But at the same time, Alexander Shabli didn't pop hot. Alexander Shabli is 24-3. Alexander Shabli is a world-class boxer in terms of mixed martial arts. And, he's a very dangerous competitor as well, because if he has the ability to stop the takedown, He's going to be fighting Usman Nurmagomedov where he wants to. Now, this is a very close fight. This is the toughest fight, in my opinion, of Usman's entire career. So we're going to learn a lot about Nurmagomedov this weekend. And we're going to learn a lot about Alexander Shabliy. Now, it's frustrating that these guys aren't going to be able to compete for the $1 million that they were supposed to originally. But currently, as we look at this, Topology is a great website here, but they currently have Usman Nurmagomedov ranked as the 25th best lightweight on the planet. That's not possible. So there's not 10 guys in the UFC that are better than him. You're not telling me that he's going to go and lose to Justin Gaethje or somebody like that. And they got Justin Gaethje up here in the top 5. So that is just not great for me. But at the same time, when we're looking at this, Alexander Shabliy has not lost since 2016. So you say, hey, Brett, who's he beaten? Is there anybody that you can really test and see that he's beaten that that Usman's competed against as well? And yes, there is. Brent Primus. Now, Alexander Shabliy was able to get Brent Primus out of there in the second round. He knocked him out viciously and finished with ground and pound. Brent Primus went all 5 rounds with Usman Nurmagomedov at Bellator 300. I was at that card cage side. Brent Primus put on a spirited effort, but lasted the 5-round distance. Shabliy was able to get him out of there. So the only real guy that both of these guys have fought, Brent Primus, is a former champion. Brent Primus is a great fighter, and he's gotten wins in his last 2 fights. But at the same time, Shabliy's finished him, and Usman did not. So that's something that has to be looked at here. I think that's a little bit about why the line is as close as it is. When we've seen Usman in these fights versus Benson Henderson, or some people in the past, he's been as high as 30-1, 35-1. This weekend, we're not going to see that. This is a legitimate fight, ladies and gentlemen, a competitive fight between 2 guys from the same country, 2 guys looking to become the best lightweight in the world. Usman Nurmagomedov, in my opinion, is the most talented, highest potentialed fighter outside of the UFC. It's not close. By the age, he is 25, 26 now. By the time this kid turns 28, 29, we're going to see a type of fighter that we've never seen before in this sport. I promise you that. Moving along this card, this is a good card. We've got Douglas Lima taking on Aaron Jeffrey. Douglas Lima, former welterweight champion in Bellator, moving up to 185 pounds in this match when to face the 6'2" lengthy Canadian Aaron Jeffrey. Now, Aaron Jeffrey is a great fighter. He struggled against the very elite of the division in middleweight. He is going to be welcoming, historically the best fighter that Bellator's seen in the welterweight division, one of a pillar of their organization. Now, Aaron Jeffrey did just lose to Fabian Edwards. Fabian Edwards is as athletic as they come. He holds wins over Dalton Rasta and Austin Vandeford. I think this fight is going to be a war. I think that Douglas Lima is going to come in here with a point to prove and try and get back in this title picture by knocking out Aaron Jeffrey. Now, Aaron Jeffrey is 6'2". He's going to have to use his length to stay on the outside. Look for the jab. Look for Aaron Jeffrey has a good body kick as well. Look for the jab and the body kick to try and set this pace at range and at distance for Aaron Jeffrey. But Douglas Lima is ultra aggressive. He comes and gets inside. He's got a big right hand. He's got damaging leg kicks. Look for Douglas Lima to try and take the mobility of Jeffrey away with leg kicks early, while Jeffrey tries to use a jab and keep at distance from Lima. I'm not going to give a prediction in this fight, but I think that Douglas Lima is going to put on a very good showing. I really believe that he's going to want to make a statement here in his debut with the new ownership. Now, moving along the card, we have a number 1 contenders matchup between Lorenz Larkin and Levon Chokely. Chokely is a very young contender who has came on the scene here and has multiple knockout wins. Lorenz Larkin is experienced as they come and defeated Murad Berkamov in LA 2 years ago. Now, Chokely 13-2 coming into this contest from the Republic of Georgia. This guy is, heavy-handed. He's got 10 knockout wins. All 3 of his losses have come by, all his only losses come by decision. He has 3 wins by decision himself. 13-2 is his record. He was also submitted there on the ground as well. I do not think that Lorenz Larkin will be trying to take this fight to the ground whatsoever. Levon Chokely holds knockout wins over Sabah Homasi, also took the undefeated record of Roman Feraldo as well. He is a very strong guy, very athletic, got a good frame to him, big back. I like him, but he's going to be facing a very experienced, a very, a guy who's seen it all in Lorenz Larkin. This is a guy who's been in the UFC. This is a guy who's fought Andrei Koreshkov twice. This is a guy who's been in big title fights. This is a guy who's fought in Japan and Ryzen shows. This is a guy who's fought in undefeated Russian guys and Muhammad Burkamov. There is nothing in this sport that Lorenz Larkin has not seen. He was able to beat Kyle Stewart. He was able to beat Burkamov. He was able to beat Alan Dominguez. Now, these guys are respected contenders, but the last champion that he faced was Andrei Koreshkov, which he lost by split decision. Lorenz Larkin can get picked apart at distance, but Chokely is not the type of fighter who's going to sit there and pick him apart. Chokely is going to come in there and try and take his head off. I like the experience of Lorenz Larkin in this one. I think that this is a great fight. The aging veteran who wants one more chance at championship gold versus the guy who hasn't been there yet in Levon Chokely. This is a matchup that I do not see going the distance. Both of these guys knockout artists, 10 knockouts on the record of Levon Chokely, 14 knockouts on the record of Lorenz Larkin. This is going to be a good fight, maybe the fight of the night in Bellator this weekend. I told you I like Trevor Peek versus Asmuz in the UFC for fight of the night. I think Lorenz Larkin versus Levon Chokely might be the most entertaining matchup on the card this weekend in San Diego. That's it for us here at SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Brett Cagle. This has been the Combat Connection. We are going to bring you guys, video and sound next week. From the press conferences at Bellator. I'm going to try and talk to Usman Nurmagomedov about the suspension, also about what he thinks about facing a fellow countryman in Alexander Shabley and what the fight means to him back home. So we've got a lot of questions for a lot of people, and we will be back here next week. I'm flying to San Diego after this show. Thanks for joining us here today, guys, on the Combat Connection on SportsTownChicago.com.
This is your home for sports.
It's the best fans in the world.
No better team. SportsTownChicago.com.
Are you ready for this? Valley View Automotive has all of the hottest SUVs you've been looking for. Enjoy a test drive and the opportunity to drive one of these powerful vehicles off the lot for half the price. Yes, half the price. Now's the time to get yourself to Valley View by car, on foot, or even by air to take advantage of this outrageous sale. You better get here quickly, because this promotion is only going on for 24 hours, and the automobiles are leaving the lot faster than you can say four-wheel drive. Valley View Automotive, a dealership you can depend on.
Hey, I'm Andy Griggs, asking you to help prevent domestic violence. Domestic violence isn't a woman's issue.